Ah, yes, the rain is going to be coming any minute now, and the winds are going to pick up to near 50. It's a Monday, October the 7th, 2013. It's time for yet another edition, live here at FingerLakes1.com of Weber This Week. Today I bring back my good time, longtime friend, Rod Verkey. And we're going to chew on Syracuse and chew on Tom Coughlin and the Giants and talk about the Bills. Those are topics we always like to talk about. One thing about Rod and the dog, I usually say black, he usually says white. Ironically, he's got the white shirt on today, and I should have had a black shirt on. But we'll get to that later in the show. But really the reason Rod is joining us this morning is, there's always special events in the course of a year in various towns and villages around the Finger Lakes region. And one of the most sought-after get-togethers is the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies at various schools. As you know, Mynderse Academy was late in the going of putting together a package and an event. But now this is their fourth year coming up this Sunday, and Rod and his committee have done an excellent job. I had an opportunity to go last year to be a part of it. It was spectacular. This year, no doubt, will be no exception. Rod has joined us, and we're going to talk about the people that will be enshrined coming up this Sunday night. And Rod, first off, welcome to the show. It's good to see you as always.
Thanks, Harold. Always a pleasure.
And, of course, the Mynderse Academy Hall of Fame induction ceremonies is a first-class event. It'll be held at the beautiful New York Chiropractic College, which, by the way, I gave it a 10 ranking last year for the facility because it's spectacular. If you ever want to have a facility and do a special event, the NYCC college campus is probably one of the best choices, just the way you have it set up down there, Rod, and they do a spectacular job. It comes up this Sunday night. I believe the reception starts at 4 o'clock, and the program gets underway at 6:15. And having been there last year, Rod, I know you're a lot of things, but one thing you're anal about the time slot. You'll make sure the time continues to roll.
Yeah, it's going very well down there. And I would like to thank Amy Gallons. She's the person that's our contact person there. She goes out of her way to make everything good for us.
And, of course, you and your committee, and before we get to the induction ceremony and run down the candidates, I'm going to ask Rod to give us a snippet. Not the entire bio of each candidate because don't want to steal the thunder of the presenters, the people going to speak on their behalf before they get introduced to the crowd. So Rod's going to give us a capsule comment, one or two comments about each of the individuals. But Rod, you look at the college and you look at what you're putting together. Certainly you and your committee, let's talk about the committee. Let's go through and give recognition and kudos to the fantastic people that assist you putting this together, because I know, having been involved in running golf tournaments in my career, it's a lot of work, and I know that you could echo those sentiments.
We have the best committee in New York State. They are outstanding, and they're a little bit anal about everything that they do, and our technology that we have and our videos and the program that we put out is just outstanding. I'll go through those people for you.
Sure.
We have Lisa Carousel Anderson. She was an inductee already. She's in the Hall of Fame. And she's the youngest member of our committee. And she's also probably the busiest. She's a teacher, and she's a coach, and she's a mom. And she's really added a lot to our committee. John Capacci, always good to have a lawyer on your committee in case something happens. But we don't get along too good on this Notre Dame stuff either. But he's very good. He goes way back with the sports at Mynderse and has a lot of history, and he does a lot with our going out and finding information about different participants that we have. Ted Novak, just the best as far as technology goes. I know nothing about the technology. We have a video every year. We'll have a video of last year's program. We have a video of the 1994 team, which is outstanding. And he does a newsletter, which nobody else does for their Hall of Fames. Keeps everybody informed and time schedules and what's going on and who's getting in. He's just outstanding. Liz Beck is another one. If you know Liz, she volunteers for about 10 different things in Seneca Falls, and she is outstanding too. The Run for Life, our committee. She does get a little Zumba in there once in a while.
There you go.
Tony Farrar is our link to the high school. As you know, he's the principal there. He does everything that you can ever ask a principal to do. He is very good. He handles our thank yous and some of our tickets for the committee. John Nicholson is a Hall of Fame guy. Legend in his own right. Won sectionals in 4 different sports, which is unheard of. And he's our ticket manager. And then we have Pete Wormuth. He's the oldest guy we got.
A legend.
And he keeps us up to date with all the older people that we're bringing in. And that's not to be derogatory, but he's been around a long time, and his dad coached for Mynderse for years and was outstanding also. He also handles our Title IX stuff, which is something that nobody else in New York State has either. We put this in so we could honor people that, girls especially, that were in sports before 1972.
Well, it sounds like a good committee. And so, again, we're not going to steal the thunder going through the complete bio of each of these candidates that are being enshrined. It's a big deal. The Mynderse Academy 4th Annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Tickets are $25 at the New York Chiropractic College. Reception starts at 4 o'clock. That, of course, is next Sunday. And, Rod, before we get to going through the names of the people that will be enshrined with you giving us a few quick comments, tell us about how somebody who's checking me out this morning could get a ticket.
Yep, all you have to do is go to the high school. They're available at the main office, and tomorrow is our deadline, and we usually get quite a few people coming at this time also.
Good.
Hopefully everybody's schedule has allowed them to go in and get their tickets ahead of time, but if you can get them by tomorrow, by 4 o'clock, that would be great. We got to give them a number at the college.
Absolutely. Okay, what Mynderse Academy does, and I'm sure other schools may do the same thing, they have contributors, they have the Title IX scenario, and then, of course, they have the inductees for their sports abilities over the course of their careers. Not only at Mynderse, as Rod pointed out, but if they went on to college, that is also taken into consideration as well. Other extracurricular activities is looked at by Rod and his committee. So without further ado, let's talk about individuals, contributors, a guy that needs really no introduction. I've known him a long time, David Baker. Quick couple of comments about David.
David and I go way back. We used to play softball with each other. We played basketball for years till we got old. Dave is the type of guy that you want to have in your community, and we wish we had 100 people like him. He's a guy that volunteers to coach and help out, and he has nobody really involved in what's going on. He just does it out of the goodness of their heart. He has experience in all different sports, and he does it because he's a good member of the community.
He's a classy guy, and certainly him being recognized as a contributor certainly is, something needed to be taken care of, and you did.
Yeah, and he's an Auburn graduate, so we have to. He can't come under the Mynderse Academy Alumni Association. Mm-hmm. So this is the reason that we developed the contributor part of this program, and we have a lot of people like Dave that need to be in the Hall of Fame, and you have to have a category for them.
Excellent. So we congratulate David Baker. Another contributor, Dr. J. Stanley Marshall.
I've never met him. He's coming, and he's coming from Florida with his daughter. He was at Mynderse in the late 40s and early 50s, and we got a lot of support from him for people that were in school when he was there teaching. He resurrected the track program and put that in. He volunteered for many different things, and his charisma and his knowledge was never forgotten by these people, and that was 50 or 60 years ago. He went on to become the president of Florida State, I believe. I always get them mixed up, the Seminoles and I went. But he's the guy that hired Bobby Bowden.
Wow.
And as you all know, he was the most wins ever, and was in a lot of the first recruiting of blacks for their school. He's written several books, and in those books, he always mentions Seneca Falls.
That's ironic. So Dr. J. Stanley Marshall, as a contributor, will be inducted. Mynderse Academy, Rod Verkey, my guest here this morning on Weber This Week. Our special show. Later in the show, we'll talk about the Bills, the Giants, and, of course, the SU Orangemen coming off their loss against Clemson. Okay, as Rod pointed out, the MA Hall of Fame Committee does something which is unique. First one to done this, to show honor, and that, of course, is Title IX inductees. This year, you're inducting Barry Doan Clark.
Yep, I actually got a chance to work with her when she was at Williamson. She became she was the first in Wayne County to be an athletic director, and she's one of the first in Section 5. And when I first got to Lions in 1974, she was AD at Williamson. We got to work together. Outstanding individual and an outstanding athlete also. She was on an undefeated basketball team, championship field hockey team. She was big in the Girls Athletic Association when it first started, and I believe she was the first president of the GAA for Mynderse. So it's nice that we have this category, and Pete Wormuth does a lot of work for this stuff. He recruits and looks into the background of all these people.
So Barry Doan Clark will be enshrined as a Title IX inductee coming up Sunday night at NYCC. Rod Verkey, my special guest. Now let's talk about the inductees that will be enshrined Sunday night at the college. And, of course, class of 2002, a young man who I haven't seen in several years, Chris Groen.
Chris is going to be our youngest member of the Hall of Fame. You have to be out 10 years in order to be considered for it, and he graduated in 2002, so he will become the youngest player. He is an outstanding athlete and student. Set many records, his cross-country, indoor track, outdoor track. Went to an Ivy League school, and as a freshman participated in the Pan Am Games, which, as you know, is a
pretty impressive.
It's an outstanding thing. Very good student, went on, and he's got his MBA and ABA and NBA and everything there is to get. This guy is going to be good, and he's very interesting to talk to also.
Obviously he's smart, too, so we know that. A gentleman that, of course, had been mentioned as a possible inductee down the road a couple years ago. He's getting enshrined Sunday night. A young man who I haven't seen in a long time. I used to know him quite well, class of 69. Of course, that's 6 years after I got out of school, Mark Piscatelli.
Yes, Mark is the only parade All-American first-team football player that Mynderse has ever had. And if you've ever read the Sunday paper, the parade All-Americans are in there.
Exactly.
Outstanding. Went to Cornell. Played with Marinero, played in an Ivy League school, great academics, great athletic ability, and it's going to be good to have him in the Hall of Fame.
And an inductee that I used to hang out with quite nicely and had a lot of fun with him over the years. He graduated a year before the dog, and that, of course, my good friend Les Robinson, the class of 62, well-liked, superb athlete.
Well, Les is one of the guys when I was growing up that I kind of watched and would like to emulate. He played 3 sports. Outstanding individual, outstanding character, great athletic ability. He was way ahead of his time as far as some of his abilities. He was the player of the year in the Wayne Finger Lakes Football League as a junior, and then also as a junior won the SMS award, which was the first year that was ever given out. The next year that award went to George Valiceni, who's also in the Hall of Fame, and we have 2 or 3 more in this class that won the SMS award also. So it's going to be good to see Les, and he was an outstanding athlete.
Oh, yeah, I remember his exploits. He was a superb athlete, a good friend, too. Okay, let's continue about the individuals. Again, Rod Verkey, my guest here this morning on Weber This Week on a Monday. Hope you had a good weekend, folks, as we move into the month of October. A big event coming up this Sunday night, NYCC. Tickets $25. Reception at the college starts at 4 bells. 6:15 the program gets underway. Having been there last year, I know Rod, my good friend, keeps his time on control. He doesn't let it go way out of whack. He tries to get people in, move on for dinner, etc., which I was impressed with last night. You showed the heavy hand. You kept things rolling, Rod, and I like to give you a lot of compliments, as you know, since we've been friends for many years. But I like the way you did it. You didn't let things kind of waggle around and run this thing 3 hours past its time.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of these things.
Yeah, you want to get it moving.
You got to keep it going. And this year is a little different also. We've always been on Saturday night before.
Right.
This year we're going to go on Sunday, which is different, and we're also going to go at 4 o'clock. Our feelings there is that on a Sunday with Monday off, we can get in there and have our get together early from 4 to 6 and then start the program earlier, and everybody will be able to get out a little bit earlier also.
All right, let's continue. We've got the likes. Let's run them down first off. If you just joined us on Weber This Week, of course, I'm Harold Weber, the dog. Rod Verkey, my guest. We're talking NYCC induction ceremonies for the Mynderse Academy, 4th annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony. If you missed it, David Baker will get in this Sunday night as a contributor. Dr. J. Stanley Marshall also as a contributor. The Title IX inductee will be the likes of Barry Doan Clark. She will get in. Chris Groen of the class of 2002. Mark Piscatelli, the class of 69. Les Robinson, the class of 62. Let's talk about Larry Justy. Larry Justy, who I've not seen for a zillion years, class of 71.
Great guy. I got to see him play quite a bit. He was on, my brother played on that team also. That was George Davis's last year at Mynderse. They went undefeated, which is the last undefeated team they've had. They had another team in the late 70s that was undefeated, but they had a tie. So this is the last truly undefeated team. Not to take anything away from the other ones.
Sure.
Either, but Larry was the proficient administrator of the triple option. And as you know, back in that time with Oklahoma and Texas, that was real big then. And George Davis actually went to Texas for their camp. He went to Oklahoma, Barry Switzer, and learned how to run it. Then he taught Larry how to run it. Larry graduated, went to Slippery Rock, and he taught them how to run it down there. Played 4 years for them and had an excellent career.
So Larry Justy. And before we get to the team, of course, there's another individual getting enshrined. And, of course, as my opinion, and I know Jimmy would agree with me, he should have probably got inducted the first year, but he was showing humility since he's involved in leading the effort of the Mynderse Academy Hall of Fame. And that, of course, is my friend Rod Verkey, who a lot of the committee members have spoken to me, not with Rod in the room, that said he should have got in the first year. Rod Verkey, class of 64, which is, if you're keeping track, that's a year after I got out of Mynderse Academy. Rod, of course, a 2-year starter in 3 sports, second team All-New York State in football. Following graduation, Verk attended Cortland State, where he played football, basketball, and 1 year of track. I never knew you were a fast guy in track. I never knew that about you, but that's pretty impressive.
That was about 80 pounds ago.
While at Cortland State, Verk led the basketball team in shooting percentage. I didn't know that about your background either. I didn't know you were like a outstanding basketball player as well. So I'm learning a lot of this stuff by reading about your bio. But there's no question that Rod Verkey, with his credentials, with a capital C, deserved admittance. But Rod, I know you're a humble guy, and I know you don't want to take away the shine of bringing other people in. But I think it's long overdue, and I'll speak for your committee, and I will speak for all the sports fans in Seneca Falls, that it's long overdue that you finally get in. And I know you were apprehensive about getting you in and having a part of that in the first few years because you want other people to be enshrined.
Yeah, I didn't get into this thing to put myself in.
No, I understand.
And I probably would have waited longer. But Tony Ferrara, after one of our meetings, said, you got to get in this thing. And the thing that really made me decide to go in is he said, your mom's not going to be alive forever.
Nah.
And geez, I really never took that into consideration, and I would like to get in. She's getting a little older. She's still pretty tough.
Yeah.
But I decided that was the best thing to do.
Well, I think, we're biased here at FingerLakes1.com since you're a friend of both myself and Jim, but you certainly have the right stuff and the credentials certainly to be honored, and look forward to seeing you get enshrined. So, and of course, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the team. You always honor a team. We're talking this year, the 1994 girls basketball squad. Outstanding team.
Every year when we go over the teams, what we're trying to do is take the best team for each sport. And we put in the 2 undefeated, untied, unscored upon Mynderse Academy football teams. We put in the boys basketball team in '92 that won the states, went undefeated. We put in the 1985 girls soccer team, which went to the state finals and really should have won it. That was a weather deal that was unfortunate.
I remember.
And this year we're going with girls basketball. This is the girls basketball team that went the farthest in New York State. They got beat in the finals, which is an honor just to get there. And it's a little bit tainted because they played Our Lady of Lourdes High School. And they have some advantages that public schools don't have. And they probably would have beat the Knicks that year. So this team was really outstanding.
Well, Rod Verkey, our special guest. We certainly want to remind everybody, we'll close out by giving another reminder. Tickets $25 if you want to get involved in going to see the event Sunday night, this coming Sunday, NYCC College. And, of course, the main entrance area there, you'll see it. It's all lit up. It's really a spectacular host for an event like this. 4 o'clock starts the proceedings, reception, 6:15 program gets underway. And, of course, you should have a good time. And if you'd like to be an attendee of that event, get up to Mynderse Academy, get yourself a ticket. And, of course, I think it'll be a spectacular event for you to view. Again, I had the opportunity last year to be a part of it. It was really amazing how Rod and his committee do it. And it's quite a feather in your cap. So we'll talk about that.
I just got to mention real quick, if you can't make it to the Delevan Theater, log on to FingerLakes1.com at about 6 o'clock. And look for the live links to the live webcast. You'll hear every inductee speech.
Right.
A lot of positive feedback from last year from across the country. People able to watch, former Seneca Falls residents.
Yep.
And then, of course, if you can't watch live on Sunday night on Finger Lakes 1, you can watch the recorded version throughout the week.
Exactly. So that's right. So if you're unable to make it, fingerlakes1.com will be your host to have it live, the entire program from start to finish. Listen, we're going to take a break and give homage and a little credit to the people that make this show possible, our great sponsors. When we come back, we won't let Rod get out of the studio until we talk about a few sports topics of some of the area teams, get his view on Tommy Coughlin. Can he survive an 0-5 start? No team, by the way, has ever been 0-5 and made the playoffs. That doesn't look good for Tom. We'll see if they're going to keep him for the rest of the year. We'll be back after this. Welcome back, everybody. It's a Dog H. Weber with another edition of Weber This Week. Today we're spotlighting the Mynderse Academy Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony starting up this Sunday night at the New York Chiropractic College. $25 tickets. Deadline tomorrow. That'll be Tuesday the 8th, so please get your tickets today or tomorrow morning, and you will be a part of the ceremonies taking place at 4 o'clock, starting at 4 o'clock this Sunday at the beautiful NYCC campus. Well, Rod, thanks for the input on the inductees, and again, congratulations on you being inducted and all the others. But certainly, I would not be a typical host without getting your opinion on a couple of things. First off, Tommy Coughlin, the Giants. We just talked about it. I didn't think it could get uglier, but it certainly got uglier yesterday. They seem non-competitive. They not playing very good defense. Eli's not having a great year. Tommy's 0-5. Of course, he's a two-time Super Bowl coach. One would guess, one would speculate that they're going to let him finish the year out. But it would seem to me, and again, it's just opinions, that maybe they won't bring him back. What's your opinion so far? What you see?
Well, I don't jump on the bandwagon there too soon. I think you got to look at the whole the whole work that he's done there.
Right.
And unfortunately, these first 5 games are just a carryover from the last 5 games from last year. We have not played a good game in the last 10 games.
Yeah.
But you can go through the list and take down how many guys have 2 Super Bowl rings.
Oh, sure.
And what they do.
Totally agree.
And Eli, I still think is a good quarterback.
Right.
But he's only as good as his offensive line. And I don't know if you've noticed, but he doesn't run that well.
No.
So if you give him a little time, he'll keep you in the game and do it for you. But his offensive line has been a little hurt. The defense, which is supposed to be their strength, a couple guys just aren't performing as they should.
Yep.
And they have a couple injuries there also. So it's a combination of things.
So your gut feeling is they'll let him play out the year, and then you wonder if they'll bring him back.
No, I would have no doubt that he's going to finish the year. No doubt.
It's going to be interesting because people talk about his age, and of course, Hugh, me, and him are in the same age sphere. He's 67. I'm a year older than him. A lot of people speculate about that. Is he losing touch? Of course, he's won 2 Super Bowls, and there's not many have done that, as you know. Certainly, it'll be interesting to see. And, of course, one thing about it, you're not in Kansas City. You're in New York, And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, Tom knows the fan base down there are just brutal when you don't win, like the Yankees. So it'll be interesting as the New York Times and New York Post continue to write stories, and they're obviously not going to be glossy toward Tom. It's going to be interesting to see the Mara family, who's a great supporter of Tom, could they withstand the pressure, And that's the issue that you and me talked about. I agree with you. I don't see them firing Tom Coughlin. But I would venture to say if he doesn't figure out a way to get a few wins, maybe 4 or 5,
There's only two types of coaches in any sport.
Right.
Those that have been fired and those that are going to be fired.
Yeah, right.
And that's just a fact of life.
What was interesting yesterday, and I know we're going to run over a few minutes, and that's okay, but he did something yesterday which even shocked me. And Tom Coughlin, of all things, whether you like him or dislike him as a coach, hard not to like this guy. But he is a stat man, and Rod Verkey knows trivia. But Tom Coughlin knows every potential stat out there. He is well-schooled. He is anal about being sure that he knows, what do I do if this happens? Yesterday, he did something which blew the announcers out of the booth. I think it was the first quarter. The Eagles had third down, 7 or 8 yards. They got third and 2. They got stopped at the line, penalty marker on the play. Holding against the Eagles. The announcer said before Coughlin made a decision that they're going to decline, Tom will decline the penalty and force the Eagles to punt. The reason they said that is they gave information to back it up. They said through 5 games, the Eagles were 20-plus yards on passing, on third down, on passing or running with Vic. Coughlin took the penalty and moved him back 10 yards. The very next play, Vic runs for 48 yards. I remember it, and they went ballistic in the booth. Do you recall the play, Rod? And it was just amazing. Yeah. Tommy being Mr. Statman, to me anyways, I love Tom Coughlin. Could have been a miscue. I don't know why you wouldn't make him punt it. You know, you got Vic, and you got that stat that says either via his arm or via his feet, they have led the NFL, the entire NFL, in 20-plus yards or more on third down. He gave him another chance. It backfired. So I just found that interesting that Tom was at a miscue, and it'll be interesting whether the sports media will pick up on that because the announcers were going crazy. They couldn't figure out why Tom wouldn't force him to punt.
One thing about Coughlin, and I don't think there's any other college that has 2 head coaches that were alumni, like Syracuse.
Yeah.
Doug Marrone, Tom Coughlin.
Yeah.
So again, while the Syracuse football program tries to rebuild itself and struggles, we still put a lot of players in the NFL and 2 coaches.
That's true. That's true. Speaking of SU football, of course, Scott Schaefer, the total polar opposite of Doug Marrone. I used to make fun of Doug when he chewing the gum, and he had a whole lot of emotion showing that guy, whether he's up by 20 or down by 30. Schaefer, on the other hand, Verk, is just ready to have a stroke or a heart attack on his sidelines. We all know about the expletives that he screamed over at the Clemson coach at halftime when Clemson went for the touchdown, leading by 20-some points. He puts his emotion on his sleeve. You got to give him credit for that. Yeah. He gets fired up.
He's an emotional guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's good at times, too. But you got to remember, you got to keep your emotions under control, and you got to run the boat, too.
Well, interesting is you look at Syracuse football and the ACC, of course, they get a rude awakening in their first game against Clemson. I was talking to Jimmy. I did not realize that the Wagner win counted toward 6 wins for the bowl potential. But as I looked at their schedule, and again, this is speculation, Rod could take exception, I don't see Syracuse beating Georgia Tech on the road, and I certainly don't see Syracuse beating Florida State on the road. I got them as losses. Verk may agree or disagree. I do, however, have them winning. And North Carolina State, I know, is on the road this week, but they're not that good. And certainly they got Wake Forest back at home. They travel to take on Maryland. Maryland got beat by Florida State 63-0.
Well, they were number 25 in the nation.
Amazing.
At that time, too.
63-0. Right, they got whitewashed.
Randy Edsel coaching down there. He seems to have Syracuse's number, so that's a little scary.
And then, of course, you end up at the Dome with home games against the likes of Boston College and Pittsburgh. So if you got the ambition of being 6 wins to become eligible, the road is not that easy ahead. Because I know that Georgia Tech and Florida State is loaded, just like Clemson is. It's going to be interesting to see as they progress through the year.
Clemson was as good as programmed. They're tough.
What's amazing, I have a friend, Sam Calzini of Geneva, who's a big Clemson fan. He's been following Clemson for 25 years through the good times and the bad times. And I was working the throughway in the booth the other day, and Jimmy can appreciate this. Everybody's dressed up with orange because both schools represent that color. And there was this tour bus coming through, and it was packed with Clemson fans. How they ever got on in Geneva to head to Circus, I've yet figured out, because I was in Geneva working. And they had it sort of the windows down. It was a nice day. And they stopped, and I had to give them a ticket, obviously. And I said, well, have a good game, guys. Oh, yeah. And they're talking that Southern drawl, which I can't duplicate, Jim. But they said, I don't know what you think about us Clemson boys, but he says, I'll tell you right now. He says, if you think your Orange are fast, Syracuse, you ain't seen nothing yet. 30 seconds of the game at 7-0. And hey, you haven't sat down with your 12-ounce dome, a $12 12-ounce dome beer yet. You know, it was amazing how those kids were yelling and screaming. You think you see speed? You ain't seen nothing yet. Guess what? They weren't kidding.
They were right.
Oh, my God, what a bunch of horses. Hey, let's quickly talk about some playoffs. Major League Baseball, I know Verk follows it all. Boston looks like they're easing their way. I don't want Tampa Bay to get in these freaking playoffs. They don't deserve a franchise in that stupid city down there. That's a horrible. They draw 10,000 people, and they're in the playoff hunt. That's a shame. You know, it's too bad they just can't drag that stadium across. I'm hoping Boston wipes them out. They're up 2-0. They're in Tampa Bay now. 6 o'clock today, by the way, if you're checking that game out. And I'm not a Red Sox fan, but I don't want Tampa Bay because their fans do not deserve Tampa Bay to go any further. Detroit-Oakland 1-1. That game 3 will be in Detroit this afternoon, 1 o'clock on, I believe it's TBS. National League, who would have thought, Verk, that in 2013 we talking about Pittsburgh with a 2-1 lead against the likes of the Cardinals? How about Pittsburgh? Amazing, huh? How about them Pirates?
I got to pull for Pittsburgh a little bit too in the National League.
Yep.
I'm an American League guy, but
right.
they got 2 of our players there.
Yep.
And I love Russell.
Yeah, great guy.
He's a tough guy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Burnett did his
Normal
annual postseason
flop.
He's the trifecta guy.
Yep.
Hit batsman, walks, and wild pitches.
And of course, the team I'm pulling for, Don Mattingly, who was going to be fired several months ago on a weekend if they hadn't won a series against Colorado, was this close from being fired. Ends up now in the hunt for manager of the year. The Dodgers now playing great baseball. They got a 2-1 lead, and they're back at home today. That game starts at 9:30 tonight. I'm kind of pulling for the Dodgers.
They ran off, 42-8?
Amazing. And that guy was going to be fired. You know the year. You know the weekend I'm talking about.
And then they added Yasiel Puig to the roster.
Exactly. Amazing story. I would love to see, and I'm not a Red Sox fan, but I love the Dodgers. I would love to see the Dodgers and Red Sox go at it. That, to me, would be a great World Series.
I just wish the Red Sox would shave.
That's a good one. All right, quick comment about the Buffalo Bills. A little downer after beating Baltimore at home, the world champions, Flacco with 5 INTs. They go on the road, and, of course, everybody knows I'm not a Bills fan. I have never been a Bills fan. And they said, hey, what do you think about that, Weber? We beat Baltimore. We beat Baltimore. And I said, hey, if you're going to end at 13 years without a playoff bid and 8 years in a row with a losing record, you got to beat those Browns on Thursday night. And, Verk, they didn't do it. And, unfortunately, as you pointed out, Manuel now is down for 3 to 4 weeks. It doesn't look good again.
Well, I thought they kind of had things put together. You got a first-year staff there.
Gotcha.
And you got the team from last year coming back.
Bingo.
They've made some changes in there. I think they've plugged a few holes in the dike. Mm-hmm. And then when you do that and you lose one of those plugs, it's very difficult to recover from that.
And by the way, you Ryan Fitzpatrick haters, nothing's changed, baby. He was playing for Tennessee yesterday. 2 more INTs for his resume.
He's good at it.
He's good at it. What the hell? I'm feeling sorry for the guy who makes, what, $4 million a year? Hello. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for Rod for joining us. Rod, as usual, thank you for coming in. We look forward to your event on Sunday night. Again, 4 o'clock starts the reception at the college. 6 o'clock starts, 6:15 starts the program. Again, tell them how they get tickets. Mynderse Academy main office?
Yep, just go up to the main office there. They're more than happy to serve you. And I would like to mention 2 things.
Sure.
Number one, the iPod cast that was last year, we got a lot of good stuff on that.
Awesome.
And as a committee, we talked about it, and we had really wished we had that the first 2 years. Because there's some things that went on at those that will never be able to be captured again.
Right.
And it's great. And we got people in California, and Florida, and Texas, and North Carolina, and they can't make it back every year.
Right.
We encourage them to do that. But this is such a great way for them to catch up with it and be abreast of what's going on. The second thing is I want to thank all of our donators. We don't have any money, and we depend upon people to make donations for us, and they've been very good. They've been very good financially, and they've been very good in their participation as far as coming to the event and doing it. So.
Okay, Rod Verkey joins us this morning. We have apologized for going over, but, some of these events we like to spend extra few minutes and talk to our guests. So, again, Rod, thank you very much, and good luck on Sunday night. I know it'll be a spectacular event.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I won't be here next week. I've got to be out of town. So, again, my main Jim Seneca, who obviously does a great job filling in. He's getting used to it since he's been filling in a lot lately. But, again, we thank you for joining us here on Weber this week. And, again, we'll let you know we're going to have Mike Cotillo on the short radar screen, the executive editor of the Finger Lakes Times. He's got lots to talk about. Besides that, folks, he's been a Pirate fan for 30 years. You think he's happy? Take care, everybody. Enjoy the week. Stay out of the rain today, baby. And don't forget the Mynderse Academy Sports Hall of Fame, 4th annual, coming up Sunday, 4 o'clock at the NYCC. Get your tickets now. Take care.